The email arrived at 2:17 a.m., a soft chime on my nightstand, the kind that usually means nothing more than a newsletter or a delayed receipt from the pharmacy. I only checked because I couldn't sleep. Too much salt air in my lungs, too many unfamiliar pillows. We were 3 nights into what my wife, Elise, had christened our great family reconnect. A week-long beach holiday she'd planned without input from anyone except, apparently, her credit card points. I opened the phone, blinked against the glow, and saw the subject line. Booking confirmation, Sunset Cove Villas. Adjustment to reservation #SC 7741 adjustment? I hadn't touched the reservation. Elise had proudly waved the original confirmation at us when we boarded our early morning flight. 2 adults, 2 teenagers, 1 ground floor, 3-bedroom villa with a shared pool, all meals included. No cooking, no cleaning, just bonding, she declared, like a general issuing weekend leave. The kids, Lena and Max, had grown but also packed their goggles. I'd packed 3 books I knew I wouldn't read because Elise's itineraries are famously watertight. I tapped the email. Guest names: Elise Morrison, adult; Lena Morrison, teen; Max Morrison, teen. Villa: Sunset Cove, Cliffside Suite, 1 bedroom. Meal plan: continental breakfast only. Dates: same as original. Special requests: early check-in/airport transfer for 1 passenger only on departure. No 4th name. No Nicholas Morrison. My place, my bed, my seat at the buffet, my spot in the taxi van, had been surgically removed, as if I'd never been meant to come. A second attachment. A 1-way ticket for tomorrow evening, LGA to DN, 7:35 p.m. departure. My home airport is Denver. We live in Boulder. Elise had told me she booked us all on a Sunday return, 1 day later than this. My throat filled with the taste of pennies. I got up. The villa's living room blinds were half open. Moonlight painted white stripes across the tile. I could hear Max's game console still muttering through his closed door, Lena's sleep playlist leaking from her headphones. Elise's phone was on the kitchen counter, face down, charging. We'd turned off the ringers for family focus. I stared at it like it might detonate. The rational part of me, the part that files taxes and measures twice before cutting, said there had to be a mistake, a duplicate booking, a website glitch. The other part, the one that lives in a marriage, knew the difference between a typo and a verdict. I opened her laptop instead. She'd given me the password years ago, back when transparency still sounded noble. Our wedding date plus her initials. The inbox auto-synced. At the top sat the thread with Sunset Cove reservations, subject split stay request. Her most recent reply, timestamped 3 days before we left Colorado. Please separate my husband's booking. He'll need to check out Friday and fly home alone. The kids and I will stay on in the Cliffside Suite. I'll cover any extra cost. Kindly bill breakfast only for us. He's not to have access to the all-inclusive band. He doesn't know yet. Family surprise. Hope that's okay. Below it, the manager's cordial confirmation. Certainly, Mrs. Morrison. We'll arrange a discreet checkout. His key card will simply deactivate at 11 a.m. Friday. I closed the lid, heart hammering loud enough that I feared waking Max. A family surprise that we had laughed at dinner earlier, passing around fish tacos, playing the Rose and Thorn game Elise loves. Best moment of the day, worst moment. My Thorn had been stepping on a sea urchin shell, my Rose, watching Lena body surf. Elise's Rose. That we're all finally in one place. The kids had rolled their eyes but also leaned into her, sunburned and languid. I'd felt, for the first time in months, the knot in my shoulders loosen. Now the knot returned heavier, braided with something sharp. I walked outside. The patio faced the Caribbean, black and endless under a half moon. The waves sounded like slow applause. I sat on the lounger where, that afternoon, Elise had rested her head on my thigh while we watched Max attempt a handstand in the sand. She'd said, "We needed this." I'd answered, "We did." And meant it. A light clicked on behind me. Elise stood in the doorway, silk robe cinched, hair tousled from the pillow. "You okay, babe?" Her voice carried that sleepy husk I still found sexy. I held up her phone, screen glowing with the confirmation email. She looked at it, then at me, and her face did a dozen things before settling on neutral. "You weren't supposed to see that until checkout." "A joke." "Maybe." She stepped closer, bare feet silent on the cool stone. "What is this?" I asked. My tone came out flat, almost curious, as if the message were written in a language I didn't trust myself to translate. She exhaled through her nose, eyes fixed on the horizon. "I was going to tell you tomorrow night. Give us 48 hours of clean goodbye." Clean. The word tasted absurd. I've been unhappy, Nick. We both have. I wanted a soft landing for the kids. One last happy week together before we figure out next. I laughed, an involuntary bark that startled a night bird from the bougainvillea. You thought abandonment at a resort was a soft landing? She crossed her arms. I didn't abandon you. I prepaid your taxi, your flight. I left you the car seat, the extra suitcase. I even packed your toiletries. Her efficiency was breathtaking. I remembered the spreadsheets she kept for Lena's soccer tournaments, color-coded snack schedules. Of course she'd logistical our divorce. The kids inside. Did they know? My chest tightened. What have you told them? Nothing. I wanted this trip to stay pure for them. Pure. As if secrecy were a filter that could strain out the ugliness that I rubbed my eyes until constellations burst behind the lids. So tomorrow I leave, and you what? Drive off into sunset with them? Sunday like we planned. I'll say you had a work emergency. We'll FaceTime from the airport, keep things normal. Then we go home and we tell them together. Together. The word felt forged in a foundry of irony that I stared at the ocean, trying to anchor myself to something bigger than this moment. The tide kept breathing in and out, unimpressed. I'm not flying home tomorrow, I said, her shoulders tensed. Nick, don't make this harder. Harder than being deleted from my own vacation. I stood. I'll pack tonight, but I'm taking the kids to the airport Sunday. You can explain to them why Dad's suddenly on a different flight. She opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time since I'd known her, Elise looked small. Inside, I woke Max and Lena, gently, whispering that Dad couldn't sleep and needed helpers packing. They groaned but obeyed, half drunk on holiday laziness. While they stuffed socks into shoes, I called the airline from the balcony. The agent, hearing the tremor in my voice, found 3 seats together on the Sunday flight. Denver-bound, same as originally booked. Only now under my name. At dawn, Elise sat on the edge of the unmade bed, watching me zip the suitcase she'd so carefully organized. Her eyes were red but dry. You're right, she said finally. They should see us both walk them to the gate. I nodded, unsure if that was concession or courage that we spent Friday apart. Me with the kids at the reef, teaching Lena to snorkel, letting Max dare me into deeper water. Elise stayed behind, claiming sunburn. I didn't ask what she did. The camera on my phone filled with shots of coral, of Lena's amazed eyes, of Max's triumphant wave from a paddleboard. Proof that something of this trip had been real. Saturday night, we all went to the resort's beach barbecue. A local band played reggae carols, torches lined the sand. We sat 4 in a row, thighs touching, sharing a plate of jerk chicken. Between songs, Lena rested her head on my shoulder. Best vacation ever, she sighed. I swallowed the ache and kissed her salty hair. Sunday morning, we loaded suitcases into the same van Elise had hired to split us apart. The driver chatted about return flights, weather in Denver, holiday traffic. Elise and I answered in alternating sentences, a duet we'd never rehearsed. At the airport, we wheeled the bags side by side. When Max asked why Dad's boarding pass looked different, I said, work emergency, long story, I'll tell you on the plane. Elise flinched. I pretended not to notice that IT security. We hugged them. Long, fierce embraces that tasted of sunscreen and goodbye not goodbye. They waved, disappeared into the line. Elise and I stood together until the last backpack vanished around the corner. Then we looked at each other. 2 people who had once promised to face every storm as one, now reduced to coordinating drop-offs. Her flight was 2 hours later. She offered coffee, I declined. We sat on opposite banks of plastic chairs, phones glowing, distance measured in charging cables. When her gate opened, she stood. I guess this is the next part, she said. I nodded. We'll figure out the rest with lawyers. She hesitated, then extended her hand, businesslike. I shook it. Her fingers were cold. Transparency, at last, in the form of a final, awkward clasp that I watched her walk away, wheeling the suitcase she had packed for a life without me. Somewhere inside it, I imagined, lay the printout of a reservation that had never included my name. My own gate was paged. I joined the line, boarding pass in hand, name spelled correctly, seat assigned. No more hidden adjustments, no more invisible ink. The barcode beeped green, admitted. I walked down the jet bridge, each step louder than the last, into a future I would build, transparent, imperfect, but finally my own.